Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I wanted to talk about the pinging problem in Warzone, which is that the pings seem kind of half broken after the 80s Action Hero update, which came out a couple of weeks ago. Ever since then, I've been having a very hard time pinging my enemies. I get ghost pings, invisible pings. I have to be much more precise with the pinging system, and my teammates and everybody that I play with has told me a similar story, yet I'm not seeing hardly anybody talk about this on YouTube. So while it should only be a minor frustration when you can't communicate with your team, it turns into more of a major frustration, and it's one that I felt needs more attention. So that's what we're going to talk about today, do a little history of the pinging system and kind of what went wrong with it. But first, a message from today's sponsor, which is Raid Shadow Legends, the dark fantasy RPG that I play literally every single day. As a matter of fact, they asked me to make a list of my top 5 favorite champions. First up is Lord Shazar, and he gives a 32% speed boost to my entire team, so I always get to go first, which is a godsend. Then we have the tank lady Syl of the Drakes, who heals my team 10% for every single turn, which is kind of the anchor of my team. Bad Alcazar is another healer that cranks a metric ton of heals and deals a decent amount of damage, while Cupidus has a very simple role of just straight up dealing damage. He's the guy that'll kill you, along with Foley, who will kill you and make it to where you can't be resurrected. Then my wild card Skullcrown is another speed boosting champion that is very difficult to kill. Now that you know all that, I'm going to show you a flawless PvP arena battle where my plan just works brilliantly and I absolutely smash this other player into the ground while we do all the rest of the sponsorship stuff. Even after all of that, Raid is continually innovating with their game. They've added the Forge, they've added the Raid Tower, which is just ridiculously hard with all these floors of challenges. And if you want to participate, all you have to do is click the link down there in the description to download the game. And if you use my link, you are going to get one free champion from the new Shadowkin faction, Konoru. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. 200k in silver, 1 experience boost, an energy refill, and an ancient shard, which you can use to summon another really good champion as soon as you start the game. All you gotta do is click the link in the description, go through the tutorial, and then you will find all of this loot in the upper right-hand corner somewhere in the little treasure chest. There'll be a little red dot on it. So, what are you waiting for? Download Raid Shadow Legends today. Alright, now that we're back from Raid Shadow Legends land, let's talk Call of Duty. Call of Duty was probably the second Battle Royale game that I'm aware of to get a pinging system. Apex Legends was first, and Call of Duty seems pretty similar to that, or at least based on that system. Believe it or not, guys, you can press one button and put a little red dot over enemies' heads for your entire team to see, even through walls and smoke. You can ping enemy locations on the map, ping loot, ping vehicles, ping caution, and I have to say, believe it or not, because I do occasionally play random squad fills, and very few people use this properly outside of my more competitive groups. The idea behind the pinging system is that it helps prevent bad callouts like, he's over there, or by the tree on the left, and you look left and, you know, there's a whole forest, because in real life you could naturally say over there and point, or point your gun at it, or over there and project your voice in the direction of there, and everybody would know where that is and be able to turn their head and kind of check it out. But in a video game, over here, over there, left, right is very difficult to keep track of. So Apex and then Call of Duty decided to add this little pinging system so that when you say, hey, over there, and you click the button and the little red dot shows up, it makes the noise and everybody can turn and stare at the red dot. Unfortunately, that's not working very well right now, so I'm getting a lot of callouts like over there and then no red dots pop up, not because my team's being dumb, but because the pings aren't working, and that's an important thing to have working. Of note, we're going to talk PC versus console today. I'm on PC for reference, but I think my console bros have this problem a little bit worse. So we'll say, what happened? And I don't know what happened. I'm gonna have to guess, because this is basically the bug that nobody talks about because it really isn't fully broken. It might be easy to notice. Essentially, the tolerance for pings is now much tighter and less forgiving than it used to be. In the past, you didn't have to have your crosshairs directly on a person to ping them, usually just close enough, or in your sights, maybe somewhere kind of close to the middle, maybe halfway away from the center of the crosshairs would probably do the trick. Even sometimes you could hipfire ping people if the enemies weren't outrageously far away, and it was a pretty simple system. It kind of had the same tolerance over range no matter what either. I didn't have a very difficult time pinging people at long ranges, But now, after the 80s action hero updates, it subjectively feels like I have to look truly directly at my enemy and have them directly in my crosshairs for the ping to work. If I'm over on either side a little bit, it's not forgiving at all. I feel like the required precision doubled or tripled overnight, or the ping box for enemies shrank significantly. I can no longer just be close to them. I can no longer do a quick spin, ping, ballpark, dip away if things are getting scary. I really have to be staring right at them, pretty much ready to fire, and obviously this makes life harder because it makes it easier to miss ping, it makes it easier to not have them in my crosshairs, and it makes it a little bit harder to, if I'm bumbling around on my own and I run into a squad, I see one, I'll ping them so my enemy knows the location and just my teammates will know the location, and then I'll just dip. I can't do that fast ping spin again because I have to be much more precise about it. What makes it worse is the old system was so forgiving and I used it for so long, and years actually. I'm still expecting that. My next issue is that I swear sometimes the pings just don't work at all. I've been making a conscious effort to be more precise with my pings, and I'm still missing them. I feel like I'll look straight at somebody and ping them, and it just does not take whatsoever. Because I thought what I would do is, like, instead of just complain and make a YouTube video, I would just adapt. I would get used to the new system. It's harder, it takes more skill, something like that. But sometimes the ping just doesn't happen, even if I'm looking at them. And I kind of think what is almost happening is it's usually when enemies are partially behind cover or they're moving behind cover. And I don't know if it's you need a certain percentage of the body to be visible to get the ping, and whereas it was much more generous before, or if there's a delay on the ping. So I'll ping them, and as this delay is doing its thing, they'll slide back into cover and no longer have the perfect red dot vision, but the vague enemies over there, empty, I believe it's a diamond shape that's red. I can't see color super well, so forgive me on that one. But the effectiveness over range is reduced as well. I really feel like I have to be perfectly on target, like sniper scope looking at them. Pretty much 3x or bust, or I will never get a ping. I pretty much can't look at enemies at long ranges with the red dot sight and do it very accurately, which is frustrating. And I've noticed that my teammates are all having problems with this as well. I'm not the only person just sitting here complaining about it. I play with a good, dedicated group of people. They know what they're doing. They know how a ping system works for sure. And they keep telling me they swear they pung. I almost mentioned it in a past tense. They swear they pinged this guy. They hit the button. It just didn't happen. There's all these little colored markers all over the screen for the pings that didn't happen. And I'm getting a lot more of these over there kind of callouts because they're used to saying over there and then a little red dot will pop up with the ping, but it's not happening, which is very frustrating. I will say that all of these problems seem to be more pronounced on console for whatever reason. I don't know if it has to do with the higher difficulty of pinging with the console controls, if it's the buttons aren't as readily available on the default controls, or if it's that you now have to be more precise and it's more difficult to do that with a stick at long range without the aim assist. But I have noticed that my console friends are struggling with this a lot more than my PC friends. And when I'm playing with my console friends, even if they're really sweaty, competitive, good players, like great guys in the Carnage clan that make me look like a clown when it comes to Warzone, they still struggle to get pings and make more invisible pings or non-pings or map markers than they did before, which is not something that I wanted to see. So then it turns into, what do I think went wrong? I think somebody somewhere up and down the chain at Raven Studios decided to adjust the pinging radius as a quality of life kind of thing. I'm assuming that it was due to player feedback about accidentally pinging vehicles when they were looking at the enemy on the other side of the vehicle, or pinging a loot pile instead of the enemy on the other side of the loot pile, and all these little things that you can accidentally ping, like a building or a door. So what they probably did is decided to scale back the radius on at least the vehicles and the loot, and accidentally scaled back the radius on the people as well. My guess is that we have a global reduction in the generosity radius of the pinging system, and that turns into a lot of people not being able to do it properly, myself included. The problems this causes are pretty straightforward. Number one, the biggest one, is worse communication with my team. I can no longer do over here and just ping them with the red dot. We have to do more complicated callouts. The ghost pings that don't happen, which is again a communication problem. Lots of markers all over the map. I've been putting, even me personally, been putting markers all over everything. There's usually 3 or 4 of them up in a fight, which is confusing because enemies can hide behind them. and a little bit of a loss of immersion, because if I'm kind of fighting this system that was previously so intuitive to me, I'm really overthinking it, and it's pulling me out of the fantasy of Warzone, at least for a little bit. So my question for you, the audience, is did you notice these changes too? Or am I talking about something that doesn't exist? Have I, totally lost my mind here? I'm pretty much tapered off all of my meds, so I'm in the danger zone, and I have to double check myself to make sure that I'm not crazy, to make sure that this is really happening. Is the pinging system hard for you as well? Because I haven't seen many other content creators or people talking about it. And for those of you at Raven who may be listening to this video, maybe take a look under the hood and see what's going on here. I have a suspicion that it's a simple problem and a simple fix, at least I hope so. And maybe you guys can work on it sometime in the future. That's all for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.